Hi class, in this video we're going to discuss another topic under rational function, specifically the intercept, zeros, and asymptote of a rational function. So let's first define what is these intercepts and zeros of your rational functions. So when you say intercept of the graph of a rational function, these are points of intersection of its graph and an axis. So if you have a rational function, the graph of a rational function, the instance na kung saan ito ay magi-intersect sa yung x and y axis will be called as your y-intercept or x-intercept. So, most likely, pag y-intercept, nag-intersect yung graph mo sa iyong y-axis and ang iyong x-intercept is instance wherein your graph intersects your x-axis. So, kung nag-intersect yung iyong y-axis, it means that at that point, kasi po ang intersect ay point. So, kung point siya, at that particular point, you can say that you will have an ordered pair which is 0, y. So, y mo can be a positive or negative, but your x is 0. So, therefore, for you to compute or to find your y-intercept, you let your x be equal to 0. So, ganun din naman po sa x-intercept. So, galing nga, ito nga po yung point na kung saan yung graph mo ay nag-intersect sa x-axis mo. So, therefore, ang ordered pair mo ay x, 0. X can be positive or negative, depende yan kung saan tumama yung graph mo or nag-intersect ang graph mo. And for you to solve this one, you let your y be equal to 0. So, saan po nanggaling yan? Kasi nga po, dun sa pinaka-ordered pairs natin, no? So, 0, y, that is why you let your x be equal to 0. Then, ganun din. Dito, why did you let your y be equal to 0? Kasi you're trying to find the instance na kung saan yung point mo will intersect at your x-axis. So, that is x, 0. So, you let your y be equal to 0. And another associated with x-intercept is the zeros of a function. So, this is the value. A value of your x, ha? A value of your x which makes the function 0. So, value siya ng x. And, note mo lang that the numbered zeros are also the x-intercept of the graph of the function. That is why common or familiar na tayo na another perception or another idea when you talk about x-intercept, you also talk about the zeros of the function. However, x-intercept lang po ay naka-express in an ordered pair, while zeros are expressed as the values of x. Now, ayan muna, tingnan muna natin siya sa graph. Ayan po yung itsura niya. So, this is your point, y-intercept, and your point which is x-intercept o tinatawag na din nating zero of the function. So, ito yung value ng x that would make your function be equal to 0. Now, let's have our examples. Let's try to find the x and y intercepts of the following rational functions. So, let's have number 1. Sa ating number 1, if you have f of x is equal to 3 minus x all over x plus 1. So, our goal is to find the x-intercept muna, no? And sabi sa ating x-intercept, x, 0. So, you have to let your y be equal to 0. And if you can still recall, no, sabi ko last time that f of x is equal to y. And ibig sabihin, dapat na maging equal sa 0 siya sa dulo. So, therefore, itong ating f of x, dapat sa dulo niyan, yung f of x mo, ang maging equation mo na ay maging 0. So, your task is to make sure that this side, other side of your f of x, given that your f of x is equal to y, diba? Given that your f of x is equal to y, para makuha mo yung iyong x-intercept, yung value ng x mo, kailangan mong maging 0 yung other side ng iyong equation. So, dapat itong 3 minus x all over x plus 1 mo should be equated into 0. Or dapat maging equal to 0 siya. And paano natin gagawin yon? So, one of the things na pwede mong gawin dito is to make your numerator equal to 0. Why? Kasi when you make your numerator or equate your numerator into 0, ano mangyayari? 3 minus x, then gawin mo siyang equal to 0. Assume mo na lang na hindi mo pa sinosolve yung denominator. So, sabihin natin na nakuha mo na yung pinaka-value niya. Then, kapag ka may 0 ng numerator mo, ano mangyayari sa denominator mo? When you divide 0 by x plus 1. 'Di ba? Even without getting the exact value of your x, you can conclude that the answer is 0. Kahit gaano pa kalaki yung constant number mo dyan, kahit yung number mo ay may mga variables and may specific numbers ka pang ilagay dyan, basta when that number or that variable or that term is to be divided to 0, the answer will be equal to 0. That is why, dahil dun sa konsepto na yon, ay nakuha yung technique or yung pinaka-easy way for you to solve the x-intercept. So, for you to solve the x-intercept, you just have to equate your numerator. Kasi automatic na, kapag ang numerator mo ay 0, magiging equal na to 0 yung iyong other side. So, makukuha mo na agad yung y is equal to 0 mo, yung magiging value niya when your y is equal to 0. So, mangyayari, you will have 3 minus x. Yun yung ating numerator, no? Equate natin siya sa 0. So, transfer natin yung negative x. So, you will have 3 is equal to x. Ayan. So, sabi daw, your x is equal to 3. So, therefore, your x-intercept is 3, 0. Ayan. That is for x-intercept. Now, how about if you're trying to solve for your y-intercept? So, your y-intercept is a point which is y-intercept, a point which is 0, y. So, ibig sabihin nito, obviously, you have to let your x be equal to 0. And when you say let x be equal to 0, it is just like evaluating a function. So, ang function mo kasi is f of x, no? So, magiging f of 0 is equal to 3 minus 0 all over 0 plus 1. Then, evaluate mo lang. 3 minus 0 is 3 and 1 plus 0 is 1. So, therefore, your f of 0 is equal to 3. So, ang iyong y-intercept is 0, 3. So, ito po ang x and y-intercept for our first function. Next, proceed tayo sa ating letter B or yung ating second example. F of x is equal to 3x over x plus 3. So, madali na lang natin makukuha yung ating x-intercept, no? X-intercept natin, we just have to equate the numerator. Equate the numerator. So, you will have 3x is equal to 0. Then, dividing both sides by 3. So, when you divide 0 by any number, the answer is still 0. So, therefore, you can conclude that your x-intercept is 0, 0. Ayan. Then, for y-intercept naman, our y-intercept can be computed by letting your x be equal to 0. So, yung iyong original function, evaluate mo lang by letting your x be equal to 0. So, that is 3 times 0 all over 0 plus 3. And 3 times 0 is 0 over 3, which is also equal to 0. So, therefore, your y-intercept is 0, 0. Now, let's have number 3. F of x is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 2 all over x squared minus 4. So, before nyo po ito isolve yung x and y intercept, first look at our function, you can see that yung ating numerator and denominator can be factored out. And when you factor out your numerator, it will become x minus 2, x minus 2, then x minus 1. While your denominator will be x minus 2 times x plus 2. So, ayan. Then, obviously, you can cancel out common term from the factor. So, ang magiging function mo na is the function of f of x is equal to x minus 1 all over x plus 2. So, now, you can now solve for your x-intercept. So, x-intercept natin, get natin yung value ng ating numerator, x minus 1 is equal to 0. So, x natin is equal to 1. So, our x-intercept is 1, 0. While our y-intercept, ganun din. Ang gagawin natin, dun sa ating mga previous example, we let x be equal to 0. Then, you will have f of 0 is equal to, substitute mo lang, or evaluate mo lang yung mga zeros mo. 0 squared minus 3 times 0 plus 2 over 0 squared minus 4. And 0 squared is 0. Then, negative 3 times 0 is 0. So, you will have 2 na lang. Then, 0 squared is again 0. Then, you will have na lang po yung negative 4 sa denominator. So, when you simplify this one, that is f of 0 is equal to negative 1/2. So, therefore, your y-intercept is 0.0, negative 1/2.